In the heart of bustling New York City, beneath the bustling streets and historical bedrock, an unusual discovery awaited Dr. Emily Torres, a physicist known for her unorthodox approaches to quantum mechanics and time theories. The setting was the New World Museum, where a late-night experiment had unintentionally opened a gateway, not in space, but in time. The story opens in the cold, dimly lit basement of the museum, where Emily, alongside her skeptical but brilliant colleague Dr. Aaron Mitchell, had been testing a new type of quantum entanglement device intended to peer into the quantum foam of space-time for purely observational purposes. However, instead of the microscopic black holes they hoped to observe, the device flickered and an image shimmered into view. A vivid, live scene of Times Square in the roaring 1920s, complete with rumbling Model Ts and men in fedoras. This accidental window into the past was Emily's dream come true and her worst nightmare. While it confirmed her theories, it also presented a dangerous temptation, the possibility of altering history. As Emily and Aaron debated the implications of their discovery, they knew they had to protect it. The temptation to make even the smallest change to the past was an enormous ethical quandary. Compelled by scientific duty yet burdened with newfound responsibility, Emily proposed a controlled, observational-only approach to study this phenomenon, a time window that should never be crossed. Aaron, however, argued the potential need to interact or even intervene in past events for the greater good. Their debate set the stage for the story's exploration of time travel ethics, the butterfly effect, and the unpredictability of tampering with history. As they agreed to document their findings secretly, aware that forces beyond academia might seek to exploit such a powerful tool, they secure the lab, vowing to keep their discovery confidential until they understood more. But as the lights dim and the pair depart, a shadow lingers by the doorway, a hint that keeping their secret might be more challenging than they anticipated. As days turned into weeks, the secret of the time window weighed heavily on Emily and Aaron. Their experiments continued under the cloak of night, each session revealing more of the past. Yet they remained strictly observers, as per their initial agreement. However, the temptation to interact with the past grew stronger with every new discovery. One evening, while reviewing the footage from the 1920s Times Square, they noticed a young boy, around 8 years old, narrowly escaping the wheels of a streetcar. The boy's identity, they would later learn, was none other than a young inventor whose theories would eventually lay the groundwork for the technology they now used. This revelation stunned them. The threads of time were intricately woven with their present, their work, their very lives. Driven by curiosity and the fear of what might happen if the wrong person altered the past, Emily proposed a new phase of their project, to not only observe, but to simulate potential interactions within the time window, using computer models to predict the outcomes of small, seemingly insignificant changes. Aaron, though hesitant, agreed, knowing that understanding the full spectrum of consequences was crucial. Their first simulation involved a simple act, sending a warning about the streetcar to the boy. The results were startling. The boy's survival rate increased, but the ripples caused unforeseen changes. In this altered timeline, the boy's path deviated significantly, leading him to a different field of invention, ultimately delaying technological advancements by decades. The implications were clear. Even the smallest intervention could cascade into monumental changes. The duo documented these findings in a detailed paper, cloaked in theoretical jargon to mask their real-world implications. But as their understanding deepened, so did their resolve to never actualize these interactions. As they wrapped up another late-night session, a power surge flickered through their equipment, and for a moment the time window expanded, revealing a more distant past, a scene from ancient Rome. They glimpsed a marketplace, vibrant and bustling, another piece of the past calling to them. But this surge was no accident. Unknown to them, their project had caught the attention of a government agency keen on exploring the past for their own purposes. The presence of the agency introduced a new threat to Emily and Aaron, not just ethically, but also personally. They realized that their discovery was too significant to remain a secret for long. The shadow by the doorway that night was indeed an ominous sign of the challenges to come. The presence of the government agency loomed large over Emily and Aaron as they continued their work with the time window. They knew they were being watched, though how closely or by whom remained unclear. This added pressure forced them to tread even more cautiously, yet it also pushed them to delve deeper into the implications of their discovery. One stormy evening, as lightning illuminated the city, they sat huddled in their makeshift lab, debating their next steps. It was then that Emily, ever the idealist, suggested that perhaps they could use their findings to benefit humanity indirectly, without altering the past directly. Aaron, always the pragmatist, warned of the slippery slope they were on. Their debate was cut short when they received an encrypted email from an unknown sender, proving that their communications were compromised. The email was cryptic, but clear in its intentions. Cease all experiments with the time window or face consequences beyond your academic concerns. Shaken, they realized the gravity of their situation. Someone powerful knew about the time window and wanted it shut down. Determined to protect their work and themselves, Emily and Aaron decided to present their findings at an upcoming closed-door academic conference, hoping that sharing their research within a controlled environment would shield them from undue influence. As they prepared their presentation, they also began to safeguard their data, creating multiple backups hidden in locations only they knew. The conference was a gathering of the brightest minds in physics and history, held in a secluded location to ensure privacy and encourage open discourse. As Emily presented their findings, illustrating the dangers and ethical quandaries of tampering with time, the audience was captivated. But among the attendees was an agent from the government, monitoring their every word. The agent, Dr. Martin Rice, approached them after the presentation with a proposition. He revealed himself as a member of a secret government division tasked with exploring temporal phenomena and offered them resources that far exceeded what the museum could provide. In exchange, the government would oversee their experiments to ensure they were used for national security purposes. Emily and Aaron were torn. The offer was tempting, providing them the means to explore further while also protecting their project. However, accepting would mean losing control of how their discovery was used. The weight of this decision was immense, as they knew that the wrong choice could alter the course of history in ways they couldn't even predict. After much deliberation, they agreed to meet with Dr. Rice and his team to discuss the terms in detail, wary of any binding agreements that might compromise their ethical standards. They left the conference with a mix of fear and anticipation, aware that their lives, and potentially the timeline itself, were about to change dramatically. After their initial meeting with Dr. Martin Rice and the government team, Emily and Aaron felt a swell of uncertainty. The meeting had revealed just how much the government knew about their project and the extent to which they were prepared to go to control it. Dr. Rice had laid out their vision: a partnership where Emily and Aaron's research would be integrated into a larger, highly confidential program aimed at understanding and potentially utilizing temporal phenomena for global stability. The terms were strict. They would have exclusive access to their original equipment, but under constant supervision. All findings were to be classified, and their personal communications would be monitored to prevent leaks. The government argued that these measures were necessary to prevent misuse of the technology by hostile entities, framing it as a matter of national security. Feeling cornered but aware of the potential consequences of refusing, Emily and Aaron reluctantly agreed to the terms. They were relocated to a secure facility, a blend of a laboratory and a fortress, situated in an undisclosed location. This new setting was a far cry from their humble museum basement. It was equipped with state-of-the-art technology and staffed with a team of scientists, security personnel, and historians. As they settled into their new roles, the scope of their research expanded. They were now part of a team analyzing historical events, simulating various scenarios to understand possible outcomes. However, the government's interest in specific events made it clear that their research might be used to alter history discreetly, under the guise of preventing future threats. This realization troubled Emily deeply. She feared their work could rewrite history without the knowledge or consent of the wider world. One night, while reviewing data from a simulated intervention in the Cold War, Emily stumbled upon an anomaly, an unauthorized entry in their system that suggested someone had attempted a real intervention, not just a simulation. Alarmed, she confided in Aaron, and they decided to investigate further. Their probe led them to a covert section of the facility they hadn't known existed. Behind locked doors and guarded by security, they found a more advanced version of their time window device, seemingly capable of not just viewing, but sending physical objects to the past. It was clear that parts of their original research had been used without their consent to develop this technology. Faced with this betrayal, Emily and Aaron had to decide how to proceed. Could they continue working under these conditions, knowing their research might already be altering the past? Or was it time to take drastic measures to regain control of their work? Their decision came swiftly. They resolved to expose the government's actions by leaking information about the time manipulation technology to trusted journalists. Knowing the risks involved, including potential charges of treason, they prepared a detailed dossier of everything they had discovered and planned to send it out the following day. That night, with their resolve hardened, Emily and Aaron prepared for the consequences of their actions, knowing they might never return to their old lives. They understood that their next steps could change the course of history, this time in their own timeline. The next morning, with their plan set in motion, Emily and Aaron meticulously gathered all the necessary evidence, documenting the unauthorized interventions and the existence of the advanced time travel device. They encrypted the data and prepared to send it to several media outlets and a few trusted academic peers. Their hope was that by dispersing the information widely, they could prevent any single entity from suppressing it. Before they could execute their plan, an unexpected security drill was announced, locking down the facility. Communication lines were cut off, and everyone was confined to specific areas. It was clear that their activities had raised suspicions, or worse, their intentions had been discovered. With their original plan thwarted, they needed a new way to get the information out. In a moment of inspiration, Emily remembered a colleague from the museum, Professor Langdon, who was visiting the facility that day as part of a historical consultancy. they managed to get a brief message to him during the lockdown under the guise of discussing a historical anomaly that needed external verification. Emily handed him a USB drive disguised as a pen, whispering that it contained crucial information that needed to be exposed for the sake of historical integrity. Professor Langdon, understanding the gravity of the situation after a quick explanation, agreed to act. He left the facility as soon as the lockdown was lifted, with the intention of delivering the USB drive to a contact at a major news network. Back at the facility, tensions rose as Emily and Aaron awaited news of the leak. They continued their work under close scrutiny, pretending ignorance of the facility's sudden increase in security. Days passed with no word from the outside world, leaving them to wonder if their message had ever made it out. Then, almost a week later, the story broke. News outlets around the globe reported on the existence of time travel technology and the government's covert operations to alter historical events. The reports were met with a mixture of disbelief and outrage. Scholars, politicians, and the general public demanded transparency and oversight. The government was forced to respond. A high-level inquiry was announced, and Emily and Aaron were brought in as key witnesses. They were both relieved and terrified as they prepared to publicly share their experiences and the ethical implications of their work. As the inquiry unfolded, Emily and Aaron's roles transitioned from researchers to whistleblowers. They were tasked with explaining the nuances of time travel, the potential consequences of altering history, and the importance of ethical oversight. Their testimony was broadcasted live, making them both prominent figures in the debate over how such powerful technology should be governed. Despite the chaos, there was a silver lining. The global attention brought forth a panel of international experts to discuss the formation of a new body to oversee research and use of time travel technology, ensuring it would be used for the benefit of humanity rather than for geopolitical gain. Emily and Aaron, now at the center of a historical turning point, felt a cautious optimism. They had exposed a dangerous truth, but in doing so, they had sparked a global conversation on the responsible use of technology that could change the past, present, and future. As the global debate raged over the governance of time travel technology, Emily and Aaron found themselves under both immense scrutiny and lauded as pioneers of ethical science. The world's attention on their discovery had irrevocably changed their lives. They were invited to speak at universities, participate in panel discussions, and contribute to the framework being laid out for time travel oversight. Meanwhile, the international panel, now called the Temporal Ethics Commission, worked tirelessly to establish strict guidelines and protocols for time travel research and its applications. Emily and Aaron were heavily involved in these discussions, advocating for a model that emphasized transparency, scientific freedom, and ethical responsibility. During this period of adjustment, a new challenge emerged. Rogue elements within various governments and private entities, aware of the potential power of time manipulation, began to develop their own versions of the time window technology. Reports of unauthorized time experiments started to surface, each with potentially disastrous outcomes. This underscored the urgency of the Commission's work and the need for a robust enforcement mechanism. Emily and Aaron proposed the establishment of a global monitoring system, equipped with the latest quantum computing technologies to detect and neutralize unauthorized temporal activities. Their proposal was initially met with resistance due to concerns over privacy and the concentration of power. However, as more incidents came to light, the consensus shifted in favor of robust oversight. At the same time, Emily continued her personal research, driven by a desire to understand the deeper implications of time travel on human consciousness and the universe's fabric. Her work led to groundbreaking discoveries about the quantum entanglements involved in temporal shifts, offering insights that could potentially safeguard against the unpredictable effects of time manipulation. Aaron, on the other hand, focused on the development of educational programs designed to prepare the next generation of scientists to handle this powerful technology responsibly. He believed that educating young scientists about the ethical, social, and philosophical aspects of time travel was as important as the technical training. As the first draft of the Temporal Ethics Commission's guidelines was released, Emily and Aaron were invited to the United Nations to present their findings and share their vision for the future of time travel. Their speech was broadcast worldwide, drawing attention to the need for a collective human approach to handling such a transformative technology. The event was a pivotal moment, marking the beginning of a new era in human history. Governments and organizations worldwide agreed to ratify the Temporal Accord, committing to the principles laid out by the Commission. This accord became the cornerstone of international law governing temporal research and activities. With the accord in place, Emily and Aaron felt a sense of accomplishment and relief. They had not only changed the course of history, but had also helped secure a framework that could prevent the misuse of time travel. Their journey from researchers to global advocates for ethical science had been fraught with challenges. But as they stood before the world at the UN, they knew they had ignited a vital discussion about humanity's responsibility to its past, present, and future. In the wake of the Temporal Accord's ratification, the world entered a period of cautious optimism. The framework established by the Accord provided clear guidelines and a robust oversight mechanism. But implementing these rules globally presented significant challenges. Emily and Aaron were at the forefront of this endeavor, traveling to various countries to help set up regional monitoring centers. These centers were designed not only to detect unauthorized time travel attempts, but also to serve as research and education hubs where scientists and policymakers could collaborate and share knowledge. Emily and Aaron's involvement ensured that the principles of ethical engagement and scientific integrity were foundational to each center's operations. However, as these centers began to take shape, a new concern arose. A whistleblower from within one of the more secretive government programs revealed that a group of scientists had been conducting unauthorized experiments, attempting to alter historical events to benefit their future economic positions. This breach was a stark reminder that despite the international agreement, the temptation to misuse time travel for personal or national gain remained a potent threat. The revelation led to a crisis meeting of the Temporal Ethics Commission. Emily and Aaron, now respected voices in the community, argued for increased transparency and stricter punitive measures for violations. The Commission agreed and decided to enhance the capabilities of the monitoring systems, integrating advanced AI to predict and analyze potential breaches before they could occur. Meanwhile, Emily continued her research into the quantum entanglements of time travel, discovering a phenomenon she termed temporal echoes. These echoes were subtle reverberations caused by even the smallest temporal interventions, which could accumulate and lead to significant unintended consequences. Her research indicated that these echoes could destabilize not just historical timelines, but the very fabric of reality itself. This discovery added a new layer of urgency to their work. Emily and Aaron pushed for the establishment of a new scientific task force dedicated to studying and mitigating temporal echoes. This task force brought together physicists, historians, ethicists, and philosophers to address the complex implications of time travel on a cosmic scale. As they delved deeper into the prevention of these echoes, Aaron developed a training program for the task force, focusing on the ethical decision-making process in temporal interventions. This program became a model for all personnel working within the temporal monitoring centers. Their efforts culminated in a significant conference held in Geneva, where Emily presented her findings on temporal echoes to a gathered audience of global leaders, scientists, and ethicists. The presentation was met with awe and a bit of fear, as the implications of her research were absorbed by the attendees. In response to Emily's findings, the Commission announced the formation of the Temporal Stability Initiative, a global effort to safeguard against the destabilizing effects of temporal echoes. This initiative was to be led by Emily, with Aaron heading its educational division. As they stood together announcing the initiative, Emily and Aaron felt a profound sense of responsibility. They had come a long way from their accidental discovery in a museum basement, and now they were leading a global effort to ensure that humanity's exploration of time was conducted with the utmost care and respect for the universe's laws. This chapter of their journey underscored the reality that with great power comes great responsibility, and they were determined to uphold this principle as they moved forward into uncharted scientific and ethical territories. As the Temporal Stability Initiative, TSI, began to take shape under Emily's leadership, the focus shifted towards developing technologies and methodologies that could directly mitigate the effects of temporal echoes. Their goal was to create a temporal dampener, a device capable of smoothing out the distortions caused by time travel, essentially allowing them to manage the historical timeline more safely and effectively. The development of the temporal dampener was a monumental scientific endeavor. It required not only advancements in quantum mechanics and temporal physics, but also a deep integration of ethical protocols into its operational framework. Emily led a team of the brightest minds from around the world, while Aaron focused on educating a new generation of temporal researchers on the ethical implications of their work. As they progressed, the team faced numerous technical and philosophical challenges. One major issue was the observer effect in temporal physics, the theory that the mere observation of an event in the past could alter it. To address this, the team developed a series of quantum algorithms that could minimize the impact of observation, making the dampener not only effective, but also minimally invasive. Meanwhile, Aaron spearheaded public engagement efforts to demystify time travel technology and its implications. He organized a series of global forums, bringing together community leaders, policymakers, and the general public to discuss the future of temporal research and its role in society. These forums were crucial in building a consensus on the ethical use of time travel technology and ensuring that the TSI's work was transparent and accountable to the public. As the temporal dampener approached its final testing phase, a high-profile demonstration was planned. The event was to be held at the United Nations, where Emily would demonstrate the dampener's ability to correct a minor historical anomaly that had been artificially created for this purpose. The success of this demonstration would not only prove the dampener's effectiveness, but also solidify international support for the TSI. The demonstration day arrived with much anticipation. World leaders, scientists, and media from across the globe gathered to witness this historic event. Emily and her team activated the dampener, and as the audience watched, the artificial anomaly was seamlessly integrated into the historical timeline without any noticeable side effects. The demonstration was a resounding success. It showcased the potential of temporal technology to be used safely and ethically, and it marked a turning point in human capability. However, Emily knew that the real test of the TSI's success would be in its ongoing operations and its ability to respond to unforeseen challenges. In the weeks that followed, the Temporal Stability Initiative received formal endorsement from major nations, and the temporal dampener was approved for operational use. Emily, Aaron, and their team continued to refine the technology, always mindful of the ethical considerations at the heart of their work. Their journey had transformed them from scientists into guardians of time, tasked with the enormous responsibility of managing one of humanity's most powerful technologies. As they moved forward, they remained committed to their guiding principle: to advance human understanding while preserving the sanctity of the historical timeline. With the temporal dampener operational and gaining international approval, Emily and Aaron's work began to focus more on the long-term implications and strategic applications of their technology. The Temporal Stability Initiative, TSI, was now a globally recognized organization, pivotal in ensuring the safe use of time travel technology. However, with great power comes great challenges, and new threats began to emerge as the potential of the technology became widely known. Amidst this global acknowledgement, a clandestine group known as the Kronos Consortium surfaced. This group, composed of rogue scientists and historians from various countries, opposed the centralized control of time travel technology. They argued that it stifled innovation and prevented smaller nations and independent researchers from contributing to temporal studies. The consortium started conducting unauthorized time experiments, creating ripples that the TSI had to quickly mitigate. Recognizing the growing threat, Emily and Aaron shifted their strategy from not only managing temporal anomalies, but also preventing unauthorized uses of the technology. This required a dual approach: strengthening the TSI's detection capabilities and engaging in diplomatic efforts to bring rogue elements into compliance with international norms. Emily led the technical response, enhancing the temporal dampener's capabilities to detect and rectify unauthorized changes more efficiently. She introduced a new algorithm, Echo-Lock, that could trace the origin of temporal distortions, making it easier to pinpoint where and when unauthorized experiments were conducted. Simultaneously, Aaron took on the diplomatic challenge. He traveled to various international forums, speaking about the dangers of unregulated time travel and the importance of global cooperation. His efforts were aimed at both isolating the Kronos Consortium and integrating more countries and independent researchers into the TSI's framework. He proposed the creation of a subsidiary body under the TSI that would fund and oversee independent research, ensuring that it adhered to global standards while fostering innovation. These initiatives were met with mixed reactions. While many welcomed the increased transparency and support for independent research, tensions escalated with the Kronos Consortium, leading to a series of confrontations. In one instance, the consortium attempted to revert a significant historical event to demonstrate their power. The TSI's quick response prevented this change, but the incident underscored the potential dangers of such technology falling into the wrong hands. Realizing that they needed to think differently about engagement, Emily and Aaron organized a peace conference, inviting representatives from the Kronos Consortium. In a historic meeting, held at the site of the first successful demonstration of the temporal dampener, they negotiated a peace treaty. The treaty outlined strict guidelines for conducting time travel research and established a new oversight committee that included members from the consortium, ensuring their voices were heard and integrated into the global framework. This agreement marked a significant milestone in the history of time travel, illustrating that even the most formidable challenges could be overcome through dialogue and cooperation. Emily and Aaron's commitment to ethical governance and inclusive innovation had not only averted a potential crisis, but also paved the way for a more collaborative future in temporal research. As the treaty with the Kronos Consortium took effect, the landscape of time travel research transformed into a more inclusive and regulated field. The new Oversight Committee, which included former adversaries, worked diligently to ensure that all temporal experiments were conducted within the ethical boundaries established by the Temporal Stability Initiative, TSI. This shift towards collaboration rather than confrontation marked a new era in the management of time travel technology. Emily and Aaron, now veterans in the field, took on roles as senior advisors to the TSI, guiding the next generation of scientists and policymakers. They focused on creating a sustainable legacy by embedding strong ethical principles and innovative scientific practices into the core of the TSI's operations. Their efforts led to the development of a comprehensive education program that was adopted by universities and research institutions worldwide. In addition to their educational endeavors, Emily pursued a project that was close to her heart, the Temporal Heritage Initiative. This project aimed to preserve historical sites and cultures that were at risk of being forgotten, using non-intrusive time window technology to document and study them in their original states. This initiative not only helped in preserving human heritage, but also provided valuable insights into the historical context for researchers and students alike. Aaron, meanwhile, championed a series of public engagement programs that demystified time travel technology for the general public. These programs were designed to build trust and foster a deeper understanding of the ethical implications of temporal interventions. Aaron's outreach helped to dispel myths and fears surrounding time travel, bringing a sense of wonder and responsibility to the community. As the years passed, the world saw time travel technology becoming a tool for good, enhancing knowledge, preserving history, and fostering global cooperation. The oversight mechanisms put in place were robust, preventing misuse and ensuring that any temporal interventions were done for the benefit of humanity. Under the guidance of Emily and Aaron, the TSI also developed the Temporal Resilience Protocol, a set of procedures and technologies designed to immediately correct any inadvertent consequences of time travel, ensuring the stability of the historical timeline. This protocol was tested successfully, demonstrating the TSI's capability to maintain temporal integrity. The culmination of their work came when Emily and Aaron were invited to speak at the Global Historical Symposium, held on the anniversary of the first successful demonstration of the temporal dampener. Here they shared their journey from the discovery of the time window to the establishment of a global ethical framework for time travel. Their keynote addressed the challenges they faced, the compromises they navigated, and the triumphs of their collaborative efforts. Their speech was met with standing ovations, not just for their scientific achievements, but for their unwavering commitment to ethical science and global cooperation. As they concluded their address, they announced their retirement from active duty within the TSI, passing the torch to a new generation of leaders. Retiring to a quieter life, Emily and Aaron continued to contribute to the field through writing and occasional lectures. They watched with pride as the framework they had helped build guided humanity in exploring and preserving the past, ensuring that time travel remained a tool for enlightenment and unity, never for exploitation.